One key thing in this tractor build scenario that I knew I was going to need, so before I really even got going on tearing the tractor apart too far, I got myself just a cheap old Harbor Freight parts washer, and so I knew that it was probably lower quality and all that stuff, and the pump probably isn't going to last that long, but I wanted the frame and the functionality to be there as I was going through this, and I knew filtration was going to become a problem, and just general flexibility and being able to work around. So I found a guy online who did some modifications on YouTube, and so I thought I'd try several of his modifications to kind of help me make this a little more user-friendly, I thought. And I think most of his ideas were pretty good. So let me run you through a couple of them here. Again, this is, what did I buy this for? 90 bucks or 80, 85, 90 bucks with the coupon at Harbor Freight. So nothing terribly fancy on this parts washer, but one thing I did was down here on the intake filter, they do have a paper filter of some sort just inside there that you can replace and work with, but there's some pretty large chunks I was dealing with, so I wire tied just an SOS pad on the front side of that to make that work. The other thing is this arm. The arm came with it, and it circulates the solvent around, and it's pretty handy to have. But the one thing I thought would be better is if it was on a more sturdy connection, because that connection down here where it used to go, it was just a plastic nipple, and that was sure to break. So I put that up here with this T-bracket, plumbing brass T-bracket, and bushed it down. I think that's 3/8 NPT, and then maybe down to half, and I think that's half or a quarter, or maybe it's 3/8 NPT. I forget those. If you want to know exactly what they are, I can check for you. But then I bought some 3/8 fuel line, so I got 3/8 fuel line that goes out of the pump, out of the tank itself, and it goes down here to a spin-on filter. So I got even the filtration is for it here. So I just got a spin-on filter port and some fittings for that too. I think all the extra stuff I probably put on this probably cost more than the unit itself, but it needed some upgrades here. So that just helps keep the particulate and stuff and helps it filter. I guess I don't know how much more I'm doing or if it's really that beneficial, but it does help keep the particles out of the stream anyway. This is the back side of the brass tee that I put up there, so I just put washers and nuts on it, drilled holes through. I drilled holes through for these for this fuel line as well. Another thing I did is I put some window gasket sealer up on the cover, so when I leave at night, keeps some of the fumes out. This stuff isn't that bad smelling, but it can leave some fumes in the garage, and my wife is not fond of those. So I did put some gasket material. It's staying so far, but I haven't splashed a lot up on there either. I'm guessing if I let it set in the solvent up there, it would quickly come off, but it keeps the vapors down, and it looks like it is held pretty well. There was my seam connection, yes. But again, I did this probably, a year ago, January or something, when I bought this, did the modifications. Underneath the drain plug, it was just a plug, and the guy had also put a ball valve down here so you could open it without it all coming down your arm. and all the crud and junk that comes out of the bottom first, you could control that. I did start with just a, let's see if I got my barrels here, with just my single 5-gallon barrel. But then I decided to keep enough product in there. I needed 2 5-gallons, and so those aren't necessarily inexpensive. A little more that I was wanting to spend, but I ended up buying 10 gallons of it, and that's what's in there, or that's what I started with in there anyway. And that depth seems to work. You could probably put another 5 gallons in there if you wanted to. But this has worked. I started with the 5, like I said, but it wasn't enough to really get enough into the pump for it to work well. So you need probably at least 10 gallons to make it work right. Like I said, you probably could put more in. It looks like the line shows you could go a little bit more, maybe only another 2 or 3 gallons. But yeah, the tank, it's I put a lot of parts through here. All the parts that I could fit in here were in here. Even I had the head in here too, just to scrub junk off of it where I could before I took the Dremel and the wire brush to it, stuff like that. But it's been pretty handy to have. I took that first 5 gallons out for a few months while we were shut down between July and December of last year, so that I didn't have a bunch of liquid in here while we were using the garage. But that that was a little bit arduous trying to filter it. I tried to use some coffee filters and some other methods of cleaning it as it went out so I could reuse the solvent. I did run it through with a coffee filter, but it took a really long time. I need to decide what the better way of doing that is. But anyway, that's kind of a walk around on the parts cleaner. Don't want to make this too lengthy, but just one of the key pieces to do a clean rebuild on the tractor here.